Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hello Zafigo Season 2. For those of you who have been following us on Season 1 a few months back, welcome back. Those of you who haven't been following us last season, you can always go back to our website on zafigo.com and watch all the past 6 videos, which were just great conversations that we've had. So now we're starting season 2, and we are kicking off with a very special person. We all travel, and we get inspired by places and people and things we see. But the person we have on today has taken it all to another level. So I'm happy to introduce to you Red Hong Yi. Welcome, Red. Welcome to Hello Zafigo.
Hi, thank you so much, Marina, for inviting me. I'm super excited to be joining with you on this.
No, we're thrilled to have you. Just to tell everyone a little bit about Red. She is from Malaysia. She is originally from Sabah in East Malaysia. And she's a contemporary artist who makes work expressing her heritage and Chinese diasporic consciousness. She's known as the artist that paints without a paintbrush. And it's really quite amazing. She creates mixed media installations by reinterpreting everyday materials through the accumulation of objects. And these are works that consider perpetual habits and preconceptions on the chosen objects and subjects, expressing the themes of women and race. So women, that's a key word for us here at Zafigo. Everything we try and do relates to women if we can do it. And she's exhibited all over the world. She's been mentioned in magazines like Wall Street Journal and Time, and won several awards, including Sotheby's Institute named her as one of the 11 art world entrepreneurs you should know. And Tidler magazine has named her one of Asia's most influential voices in 2020. Now, if you don't know Red Hong Yi and don't know what she does and don't quite understand what we mean by the artist who doesn't paint with paint, let me get her to give a brief introduction to your work. Okay, so take it from there, Red.
Thank you so much, Marina, for the introduction. I'm so honored to be sharing this with all of you. And I think when you mentioned about all that, it made me just think about, I guess, my journey in the last 7-8 years of really just finding all these random artworks and putting them together. And I've been super thankful for this journey. And here's just a brief kind of overview of what I do and how I started and what I'm doing right now. So I started this whole process of getting random materials and making it into artworks when I was working in Shanghai as an architect in 2011, 2012. So at that time, I think I just wanted to work on art projects on the side, because when I was living in China, I thought, wow, there's just stuff in abundance that I could find there from Alibaba.com and things like that. So maybe it was the change of environment that kind of inspired me. Here's one of my earlier projects. It's made of coffee cup stains. Instead of, I guess, coffee cups and stains being a nuisance, I thought, why not work around things that we kind of overlook. So that's the basis behind what I do. So if you flip to the next one, this was one of my earlier works and it was a portrait of Jay Chou. So at the time, I really wanted to highlight, I guess, personalities that were mentioned in the media a lot when I was living in China. So they were Jay Chou, Yao Ming, he just he just retired from the NBA at the time, Zhang Yimou, filmmaker, and Jackie Chan. So if you flip to the next one, This was a portrait of Zhang Yimou made of socks. So I was really inspired by how locals hang up laundry in little laneways in Shanghai. And this was done in my grand auntie's living room. So I am really close to my family in China still. And in the next slide, this is me just pinning up socks, and my neighbors came over to help me out. So there was this really nice community thing going on there. And if we go next, this is me hanging up socks in a little laneway in Shanghai. And I think before I knew it, I started to have people following me on online. And I think the more surprising thing was that I started to get clients commissioning me. So next one is, this was a portrait of Aung San Suu Kyi. So I wanted to create a portrait of a female leader, and this was, so Aung San Suu Kyi has flowers in her hair a lot, I think, when she goes for public appearances, and I wanted to use objects that had a connection with the person. And so I dipped white carnations in red dye of various tones, and over time it would, I guess, suck up the tone. And if you go next, so that's, I think, from day 1 to hour 0 to hour 48, it kind of just emerged, her facial features just emerged through that red dye, the tonality of it. And if you go next, this was a piece for Chase Manhattan Bank, and it's made of tea leaves of, I guess, different types of tea leaves, from black tea to all the way to chrysanthemum. And next, so this was a commission piece that I created, and it was shown in a 30-second ad in North America. And next, and this was the final piece. So if you wanted to look at all these are documented in video. They're all on my portfolio, and I'll just punch in the link in our chat group right now. And next, this was a piece that's close to my heart because this was shown at the World Economic Forum, and it was to be a piece that was shown during Malaysian night, and I wanted it to, I guess, really reflect not just the visuals of Malaysia, but the smell behind it too. So I used this. I used about 20,000 tea bags dipped in different kind of tea intensities to create a piece of a man making teh tarik. So this was pretty fun, and yeah, and it was really meaningful for me to be able to show this in Davos. And if we go next, this is just a close-up of that, and I just wanted to thank the 20 students who were helping me punch in, like, just clip on all these tea bags over 2 months, and also my family members. They, every time after I create a piece, they're like, we're not helping you anymore. Don't make us go through this. And next, this was a piece for Jackie Chan. So this was for his 60th birthday, and it was made of about 60,000 chopsticks. Next. And yeah, so this was kind of a bit of a dream come true to me, to be able to create something for him. So he actually saw, I think, my Zhang Yimou piece made of socks and the Jay Chou piece, and that's how he got to know my work while I was living in China. Next. And these are more recent pieces. So I did this last year for a tech company in Singapore, and it was to show, I guess I wanted to show the skyline of Singapore, kind of pixelated, but in the forefront, where they came from. So from a fishing village to who they are today. And if you go next, this is just a bit of a detail of how it looks like. It's weaved bamboo, and the black bits are burnt and charred on. And next. And this was, so going into what I've created this year, during lockdown, I think I was a little bit sad, I think, when the lockdown happened, and when I was, all my traveling plans were halted, like a lot of people. But at the same time, also, I think there was a lot of news about racism happening because of, I guess, because of where the virus seemed to be originated from, and people were afraid of Asians in a lot of Western countries. So there were all these, I guess, stories of assaults and things like that. So I started I guess, a 10-part series of portraits of Asians wearing masks. And I titled them "I Am Not a Virus" after a movement that started from France. And I used various materials from my pantry, from green tea like this one. And then if you go next, this is candy sprinkles. So the portraits that I feature are either victims of assault or people who have stood up to, I guess, speak up against it. So this was I think a 4-year-old girl who got stabbed, or 3-year-old in Texas for being Asian. And if you go next, this is a Singaporean student in London who was punched. I don't know if you read about that story. But he really spoke up about it, and yeah, his story is worth sharing. Next. And this was a piece that I did recently, just last week, featuring my grandparents, who I was in lockdown with in Sabah for 3 months. And I'm lucky to have all 3 parents who are in their 90s. One is almost in her 90s. And I wanted to, I guess, create a piece that just spoke about my time with them. And if you go next. This is currently installed in Zhongshan building. If you're in KL, do come visit. It's going to be up there for a week. And next. And finally, this is a sculpture, my first outdoor sculpture, permanent sculpture that I will be working on. It's going to be at the Star Residences right beside KLCC. And this should be going up in December or January. So yeah, that's just an overview of what I've worked on and what I'm working on right now.
Wow. It's really, I mean, you must have a brain that's really different from everyone else, because how do you equate, this work, this portrait with this material? I mean, which actually tell us through your process, which came first, the idea of the picture, and then you decide what what material you'll use, or the other way around? I mean, how do you connect the two?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I really started with like people and wanting to tell their stories. So the very first one was Yao Ming, and I mean, the immediate image you think about is a basketball. So I decided Yao Ming and basketball, just connect them and then tell his story. And then it became a little bit less obvious after that. So with Jay Chou, he has a song about drinking coffee. So coffee came in. And then Zhang Yimou, I guess it's about him portraying the Chinese culture in a very rich and interesting way. And in Shanghai at the time, I thought these bamboo poles were just super fascinating and used from just wushu to laundry. So I used that. And then I guess gradually it became about researching on these people and an object that would tell their story. But sometimes it goes the other way around too. If I find an interesting object, I try to link it to something as well.
Right. And so when you're commissioned to do a work like the tiger, do they just leave you free to use whatever? Did they tell you we want a tiger in the first place? And secondly, that use whatever.
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, I think a lot of my clients have been wonderful. So they come to me knowing that I create pieces out of objects, and they usually would give me free rein on what to do, and I would give them a couple of ideas and proposals, and also research on their company values and culture and all that. So with the tiger, I think Chase wanted a strong animal, and it was really I think I do try to prioritize getting materials that speak about my heritage and culture. And I wanted something that was, I guess, Oriental. So I used tea leaves for that as well.
But how do you picture these things? I mean, they're huge, right?
Yeah.
And how do you know where to place what? Do you do it freehand, or do you have a template of some sort? Or I mean, I'm non-artistic, I
Oh
have
no.
to admit. So to me, this is like, wow, you know, how do you do these things?
I think you want me to tell you the truth? No, I'm just kidding. I think a lot of people think I handball these things like 60,000 chopsticks, place it here and there, but there's actually a lot of planning involved, and half of my work is done digitally on the computer. So I think my background in architecture helps a lot. I
Ah,
do have to be careful about how many materials how much I actually order from like a factory or online through manufacturers, because I don't want to go above as well. So I do plan a lot of it on the computer, and I use modeling softwares and things like that. And yeah,
ah.
but I do study like the
So,
shadows and things like that of an image.
right. So you do get a precise count of what you need. And yeah, but I thought the carnations thing, soaking up the color is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
The portrait of Aung San Suu Kyi. But, you know, I mean, where did you get that idea from?
I think at the time, so this was done in 2013, 14, after I watched
Oh,
The Lady featuring
right.
Michelle Yeoh. So I think
Yeah.
after that I was inspired to create a portrait of a female leader after creating 4 portraits of males, um, and to Zhang Yimou and all that. So I thought, okay, a female leader in, I guess, in the Southeast Asian region would be great. So I think it was also after watching that movie that I was inspired by that, and I did wonder about the flower and the significance of it. So it was
But
a
the idea of soaking up the color,
hmm,
that's what I thought was really clever, and that it develops over time.
it did.
A
To-
bit like a photo, you know, coming
oh
out of a
right.
dark room,
Oh, I
right?
thought about that. That's a really nice.
Yeah,
Did it? Yeah.
yeah.
That took me about, I think, 6 months to really figure out. Um,
Wow.
I mean, it didn't take that long, but also I think I knew that I wanted to create her portrait with flowers, but I didn't know how. So I think it was after some like just observation and really letting that idea marinate in my head, that one day I think I was walking past like a florist and I thought about how about that whole what I learned in science back in high school kind of thing that might work.
Right.
Mhm.
Huh. So is 6 months like about the normal time you spend trying to put, you know, from start to finish, from idea to actual execution?
Uh,
And
yeah, not really. I think these days it comes faster because if a client gives me, especially if it's a commission project, it
right.
gives me a deadline of say 2 months, then I would be able to work within that. But if it's a personal project, I do take my time a bit and kind of tinker around a little bit. So it depends on the deadline, really.
Uh,
Yeah.
so this show that you're doing at Songshan, that's a
Yeah.
personal project, right? Is that a
That
personal?
that's a personal
Yeah.
and collab also. So I
Uh,
wanted to create something about, I guess, that highlighted my thoughts during the MCO. And Uniqlo actually came in and said that
oh,
we want to create a video showing what your thoughts were during the MCO, during the pandemic, and what ideas do you have? So I told them that this is a bit of a personal thing. Are you okay with that? And they were happy with that. So it's a bit of
ah.
too.
So coming back to the MCO, obviously you were stuck, like a lot of us.
Yeah.
I mean, normally you live in LA, right? Or you travel between
Mhm.
LA and Malaysia and home.
Mhm.
But where were you when we started? March 18. Were
I
you back here or
Yeah, I was in Sabah. That's
uh,
where I'm from, KK,
was
and
was that by chance
I was
or
on
you
a couple of
were
projects there.
uh,
So I think when that happened, I was like ready to fly, and probably go to the States. And then my dad was like, no, 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 no. Think about this. Think about this. Don't be reckless. This is
Right.
unprecedented thing going on. You don't want to regret. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I thought about it, and I think I'm in hindsight now, I'm grateful that I'm here. And
Mm-hmm.
I think at the start of the MCO, I was pretty down about everything that was happening and felt really locked up. But I am grateful for, I think, where the country is at right now with the situation. And yeah, I've been able to do a lot of things that I wouldn't be doing otherwise, also without this
But
happening.
did you find, I mean, you've been traveling a lot, you've been so many places, and that presumably has inspired a lot of your work. Was
For sure.
there a difference with being home? And I mean, it's not like you lost inspiration, you still had some, but was it different?
Mm.
From your sources of inspiration, was it different from when you were traveling?
Hmm. I think when I was traveling, I I think the projects were more spurts of like smaller projects, and then like a larger one would require me to be on the ground for some time. So I feel like I'm less distracted right now working on projects, and I'm able to plan long term. Whereas I think in the last couple of years, it was all right, here and there, just like run around with my suitcase. So it's been nice, and I think it's allowed me to also get to know the local art community a lot more, which has been
Right,
wonderful. So I got to know quite a
right.
few artists in KL while I'm here.
Oh, good, good. Because I'm sure you have plenty to share with your international experience, and I think you've been a great ambassador for Malaysia too, with all your travels and international recognition and everything.
Oh,
But
thank
I just want to ask you, I mean, the pieces you have, okay, apart from the commission ones, which
you.
I guess the company, whoever owns it, what do you do with all the rest? I mean, when you make things with tea leaves or
Yeah.
sprinkles, I love the one with
Oh,
sprinkles.
thank you. Thank
Do
you.
you, I mean, how do you preserve it, or don't you?
Yeah. So I guess some of the pieces, say the ones of my grandparents, those are owned by me, although a company came in to cover and feature it. So
Yeah,
so some of them are still owned by me, but the ones with the sprinkles and all that, I guess the end piece would be the photograph. So a high res photograph of it. And I suppose also I tried to, so I think last year I tried to work on a series of personal projects. It's called Future Relics. So they feature 10, 10, 10 artworks of vases inspired by different themes about women. So that, and that's made of eggshells. So that's something that's really close to me too. And I was actually going to have a solo exhibit of that in the States this year. But
yeah.
I guess I'm okay about my plans being a little bit different because of the whole situation with the world right now. So yeah, I think it's 50-50 for me. Some of 50% of it is personal, and 50 would be owned by clients.
But how do you preserve them? I mean, do you keep them, or do they get swept off the floor or something?
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
those are swept off. They're like they don't exist except in photo form right now. But
Ah,
over the year, I had to think about what objects can I use that would be durable. Because when I started, it was just do this for fun and just upload a video. But so
mhm.
I guess that brought me to eggshells, because that's actually a really old art technique that has been refined by the Vietnamese actually. So they do use a lot
Mm,
of eggshells in their, I guess, vases and paintings and things like that. So early I
yeah,
went to Vietnam to learn from local artisans about how to preserve the eggshells. So they cover it in sealant or resin or lacquer. So that's what I do. So I try to use materials that can last for decades or hundreds of years from now.
great. You should show that exhibition here. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we want to see it here. So I'm going to go to the questions from the audience. Anyone who has questions, please put it in the chat and I'll try and go through them. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, I'm sorry, we're going to give priority to the questions on Zoom, but if you do have some really, really far out question that needs to be asked, somebody will send it to me and then I'll try and ask it too. So one of the first questions actually was about the eggshells. Well, I guess you've explained the inspiration came from Vietnamese traditional artwork. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But of all your projects, which has been your favorite today?
Oh, whoa. I think I like, so I actually, I think so I came across this interview by an artist and she was asked the same question and her answer was the next one. So I think that's the answer. But recently I worked on a series of portraits for Post Malaysia and I'm really excited about that one.
Yes.
Out soon. I can't show you I can't show the public the images now, but it's coming out end of October and it's a series of 5 portraits of Malaysian frontliners made of stamps and it's gonna be made into stamps. So in a stamp you'll see a lot of
Cool.
Yeah, so they saw
So
yeah.
So stamp collectors will be thrilled. First
Yeah.
day covers and all that.
Yeah.
Then can we book ahead?
Of course. I think they're gonna print 10,000 sets of them and every
Fantastic.
2,000. So I don't know the details yet, but I'm really looking forward to that one. And they actually saw the I Am Not a Virus series that I created during MCO, and they liked that kind of visual. So it's inspired by that.
Oh, terrific. So, like other questions. One from Jolene Chin. How do you keep your tea pieces from growing moldy? Do they grow moldy?
Yeah, so the tea pieces, I had to make sure they're really dry, first of all, and then I poured resin on top of it. So that was inspired by, you know how you go into souvenir shops and there are all these orchids that are set in resin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the idea behind that. And I guess I did a lot of research on how long they can last for. As long as they're dry and then airtight, sealed in resin, they would for ages.
Must get really heavy though if you put them all in.
Yeah.
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 So, and Jolene also asked, your pieces are large, or
Mm-hmm.
they look large anyway in the pictures. What happens to them after an exhibition? I mean, this is kind of what I asked earlier.
Yeah,
The ones that are actually, fixed like that.
I guess they would be owned by either the client or I would own them. So it depends on, I guess, our agreement. I still have my very first Yao Ming piece. It was almost chucked into the bin. So I remember just doing the piece and then I kind of like rolled and scrunched it up. And my videographer friend said, no. What if people start noticing your work? Do not, trust me, don't throw that away.
Yeah.
So I have my friend Joelle to thank. It's actually in my storage room right now. So I have quite a few pieces rolled up. They're not framed or anything. I should frame them nicely and exhibit them or something like that. So
You could have a retrospective one day.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
And bring out, your earlier ones. It'd be nice to see your evolution, no?
Right.
From one to the other. Okay, Jean Eng from Hong Kong asks, do you consciously use mostly biodegradable products in your pieces?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one you've already answered. How do you visualize the granularity using your objects? I think you kind of have answered that. But the first one about biodegradable products.
Yeah. I don't consciously use them. I try to use non-biodegradable products so they can last long, or I would treat them. So like the chopsticks, the bamboo chopsticks, they're treated bamboo chopsticks that would not mold. And if it's biodegradable things, like say the sprinkles and things like that, it would be images that would be the final piece. So it's
Right.
it's both. Mm.
So did Jackie Chan keep his portrait?
Yeah, he did.
Where does he put it? Because I imagine that you need a space to
Yeah,
hang it out.
he actually has like this museum space with a lot of art pieces, and
Oh,
they're right now in Beijing. So I worked on it in Beijing for him.
oh, cool.
That was pretty fun.
Great. Okay, Sean Lee is asking, who are the artists that you look up to? And is there a project, piece, bucket list you hope to eventually tick off? I don't know anyone else who really does what you do, you know.
Oh,
But
yeah. Sean is dialing in from Melbourne. I
from
think.
Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah, I hope you guys are all doing all right and staying sane. I have a lot of friends there who are like, oh my gosh, it's like it's going on.
Me too, me too.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Let me just really quickly check on my battery. Just 10 seconds. Right. I'm like, oh, my battery was flashing and I didn't switch on the charging switch. So I could have gone off for a bit. But who's an so I think
Artists, who are the artists you look up to?
there's an artist called Vic Muniz. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. Let me type him out. Vic Muniz. And all right, so off the top of my head right now, Vic Muniz, Chuck Close, and Taiko Chang are three artists who have really inspired me. So Vic Muniz, he has a documentary that is, I think it won the Oscars for best documentary, of him going to the largest dump site in Brazil and working with garbage pickers to create portraits of these garbage pickers with garbage. And I think he done it for 2 years, just brought garbage into this warehouse and then kind of placed them all over and took a picture top down. And I talked about how, because I think he sold these pieces at Christie's after that. And to these
Wow.
pickers, it's just mind blowing how much art can be sold for. So
Right.
was the question
I
of,
hope they got some of it.
yeah, he did it to I guess give back to the community, but I think it was questions of, you know, how the reality of how much they were paid and how much these things can cost also. So there were
Exactly.
themes in there, and he really inspired me because he uses a lot of objects, just everyday things. Chuck Close creates huge portraits, and I think this year I have been intentionally going back to portraits because I want to go back to storytelling, to talking about people who I am painting. And Tai Guoqiang is this Chinese artist who just uses gunpowder and just blows up all his artworks. I don't know if you've
Oh,
seen it as
yeah, I
well.
think I've heard of him. He
Yeah.
blows them up.
Yeah, and he looks like this humble Chinese guy who just does all these crazy, just explosive work. And I guess it inspires me how brave he is at just experimenting. So those pieces of the bamboo weaves with that have images charred and burnt on were inspired by him.
Wow. Okay, Brian Ho is asking, he has a daughter who is interested in art and of course your work. So any advice for 12-year-olds as to where to begin? Which makes me think, have you been producing art since you were a child too? Or was this a late discovery?
I think I've always loved art. I've always, I don't know. I think about this a lot because as a kid, like when I was 4 or 5, I remember loving to draw Sesame Street characters, and my parents would go, "Oh, you're good at it." So I think it was also a combination of getting all that praise and wanting to to show them that I was able to create, that just pushed me on. But I think one of the things that I have to remind myself is that I think early on I picked up the skills to draw pretty early on, but I remember, I think when I was 7 or 8, I joined an art competition. The teacher was like, "Oh, like Hongyi, you're good at drawing. You represent the school to join this competition." So I did, and another friend, like family friend, who to me was not that great at art, joined the competition too. And the title of the competition was, draw your favorite animal. So I drew this like perfect looking Easter bunny holding a basket, and this boy drew this crazy shark that didn't even look like a shark, and like had pencil markings all over the place. And then when the judges announced the prize, I wasn't even in like top whatever list, and he actually got a hamper. Like, so he was like happily like shoving it into my face. And I think I just went up to one of the judges and I said, what happened to like this bunny? And I think it was a teacher. He said that your bunny was too perfect and it was too, I guess, cliche. And I feel like I've seen it before and there's no emotions. Whereas your friend's was like just like all over the place. I can tell that he loves sharks. So I think that's something I still think about, that even though I might technically know how it works, if I don't pour in emotions, it doesn't communicate anything. So
Right.
yeah, so that's something that I do have to remind myself, that art is a form of communication. It's not about being perfect also.
Yeah, my daughter, wasn't much of an artist, went to an art class with this artist, and the amazing thing is that instead of drawing, teaching them how to draw, okay, this is a tree and this is a house, like we normally, brown trunk, green. He
Yeah.
was teaching them abstract art,
Wow.
and that really freed the kids,
That's
they
wonderful.
could they could just think of a concept and then do what they wanted, and it was really great. And then they had an exhibition at the end, which of course was a bit of a trap for parents, because then all the parents felt obliged to buy their kids work, right? but yeah, it was a very interesting exercise in getting kids to get out of the usual, must color within the lines and that sort of thing. Yeah.
I wonder how
So
art is taught in schools these days in Malaysia.
I don't know. Me, I was so bad of it, so bad at it that I think I dropped out very early on
Oh,
because there was no hope, no hope for me at all.
but I think that's also a little bit of a, like looking back, a bit of a danger also for teachers,
Mm,
for even parents to go, "Oh, you're not good at this," because
yeah,
yeah, there are different ways of communicating art, and
right. And expressing, I mean, I'm discovering that now as a much, much older person,
yeah,
how to express through, well, I guess it's a form of art, journaling and things like that.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, back to the questions from Ratika. Are you I need peace and quiet type of person while you work? If not, what do you listen to when you work on your pieces? Do you have your headphones on and,
Yeah. I think it depends on what type of work it is. If it's I need to have my brain like tuned on and like calculate these things. I need to be alert. Then I need peace and quiet. But if it's just repeating the same thing, like a laborious task, then I would have podcasts. I love podcasts, and
Mm. What
yeah.
sort of
And
podcast? What podcast?
oh, recently I've been listening to NPR a lot. So there
Uh-huh.
is How I Built This, Hidden Brain, which is about social psychology, that I love a lot. There's one by New York
Oh.
Times called Modern Love. So it's like,
Yes, I know that one.
I love that. It's so good.
And
It's
they made a Netflix series, I think. on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Wonderful too. So
Yeah. I've gotten into, that's one of the MCO byproducts podcasts I've gotten into. Sorry?
what podcasts do you listen to?
Oh, usually funny ones by women. And there's a wonderful series about Hollywood, about old Hollywood stars,
Oh,
and their histories. But there's a sub series of that that talks about kind of women in Hollywood and beauty, like the ones who suffered because they were big.
oh.
There's a whole story about Merle Oberon, who
Mm,
was of Anglo-Indian origin, but she hid that fact for the longest time because
oh,
of racism and that
mm,
sort of thing. Anyway, that's sort of,
please
we're
let
not
me
talking
know
about
what
me, but
it's
huh?
called. Tune in.
We'll talk later. I'll give you some recommendations.
Great.
Um, but yeah, so you listen to podcasts. I think that's great. You know, feed your brain well. But
Mm,
your work is quite manual, isn't it? I mean,
mm.
you really have to use your hands when
Yeah.
you work and concentrate.
Yeah.
So, from Tertia, where's the first place you'll travel when it's safe to travel again, and why?
That's a great question. I mean, I'd love to hear your answer to that too. First place I'd travel, maybe, actually, actually maybe China, because I do find a lot of inspiration from there. My brother is actually gonna be based in Shanghai next year, so I'd love to visit. And also, I had two residencies that I was gonna go for this year. I've never done any art residencies, so for those who have not heard of it, it is residencies are when I guess institutions offer a space for you to work at, usually with living and working expenses covered with a community of artists. So I was accepted to two this year. It was one in LA and one in Shanghai. So I wanted to go
Mm,
back to Shanghai to really document a lot of these old laneways that I really love. That's where I featured and hung up a lot of my artworks, like the sock piece, and they're disappearing bit by bit because the whole city is being, just it's developing into high rises. So I wanted to document that before they disappear. So yeah, so probably Shanghai to create that, to document all that.
mm. I also wanted to go to some do some residencies, but that
Oh,
was writers residencies.
mm.
That's gone for the moment. Okay, there's a question from Facebook. Do you have any Malaysian icons in mind you think could inspire a future piece from you? That's
Oh,
not a leading question, please.
yeah.
But
That's a great question. So I guess this year going back to wanting to do portraits, especially I do want to create portraits of Asians, of Malaysians. That's something I have to think about. So I was really inspired by, I think during the whole Black Lives Matters movement, there were a lot of I guess um, artists from the Black community that were sharing their works, and I just really enjoy seeing that. So Kahind Wiley, who did Obama's portrait,
yeah,
um, yeah, and also Amy Sherrill, who did Michelle Obama's portrait too. So I do want to
yeah.
document more Malaysians and I guess
In
Asian.
in that way, or in your unique
Mm-hmm.
way, I am really curious to know what sort of materials you're gonna use for these portraits
let,
now. I
let
mean,
me think about that a little bit more.
yeah, boy, that would be,
Assignment to
yeah.
document people with all these different various materials.
Kok Chin Lam is asking, what was your first job before you became an artist? You were an architect. Did you spend much time
I
being an architect?
I interned for a firm in Australia for a year, so we did a lot of townhouses, a lot of house projects, and when I was in Shanghai, I worked fully for about 2 years on a lot of just mixed-use and skyscrapers. So I think at the time, construction was booming in China. I was working on a new skyscraper design every 2 months, so it was just back to back nonstop. And then yeah,
It's
so
the most vertical city I know. I mean, it's incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had a great time there.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's really buzzing, right? The
Mm.
whole time. Nicole C is asking, can you share your different experiences of working on commissioned artworks in different cities or countries in terms of the freedom of creativity
Ooh,
given to you or the local acceptance towards your subjects or
oh,
concepts?
that's a great question. Um,
Yeah.
hmm.
I
Let me.
kind of asked earlier whether the companies just left it to you, but
Yeah.
I think this is a deeper question to that. Were they always happy with whatever you came up with?
Oh, let me think. Um, my very first piece, very first commission piece was actually by an Italian company. It was actually Nespresso. So they
Yeah.
opened a boutique in Bologna, and they wanted to honor Lucio Dalla, one of the I think most celebrated singers who had just passed away at the time, and the boutique was right below his apartment.
Ah,
So so that I felt a lot of pressure because not being Italian and also just learning about his work, and his PA and people close to him were going to visit the piece. So I spent a lot of time, I guess, just studying his face and all that. But I think when it was exhibited, his PA came in and she actually teared and she said, "Oh, I can actually see his spirit in it." So I think
uh-huh.
that really made me go, okay, to create portraits I have to capture that spirit, and the challenge is not knowing the person and really
Yeah,
studying that person, and I think his values and just what he's like through stories and all that, and capturing that in their eyes or their facial features. So
right.
so that was, they were very, I think they were very open to that, although I am not Italian. um and I think in other countries, let me think. So I think in the last few years I veered off from portraits a little bit. I went to like landscaping and all that, but portraits still my thing. But
Did you do that out of coffee or coffee
I,
capsules?
I
You
did.
did.
That was the stamping, and I'll
Oh,
put the link down here as well. Um,
wow. Okay.
mhm. And let me think. In terms of, I find that in the US they're very open to new ideas all the time. Like, just do what you like, let us know what your ideas are, let's push this. And there are other countries that are a little bit more conservative. I do find Japan a bit more conservative.
Ah,
um,
yeah. Have you done something in Japan?
I have had, I guess, conversations about exhibiting some pieces. So
Hmm.
and also a couple of clients also as well there. So they're more, I think, a little bit more conservative, I think, with how much I can push also.
Uh,
But it's very I love their, I guess, attention to detail and all as well. Hmm.
right. But they're also quite innovative, the Japanese. They do interesting things too. Some other questions. What is from Facebook? What's the toughest, hardest to manage medium that you've worked with so far?
Mm, I think anything that is live, that is
Live, like
so
flower plants.
the flowers were hard because I
Yeah.
couldn't really control them. So some of them didn't suck up the dye, and
Yeah.
so I had to really study the angles of like cutting it and how much water to put in and all that. Let me think. So yeah, I think anything that is a little bit more um, like a living thing is hard.
That has a mind of its own,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Chocolate
Yeah.
is easy. I mean, it's all the same size and all that, roughly.
Yeah. Okay, some more travel related questions. Do you have a favorite city, a place that inspires and invigorates you?
Oh, uh,
Shanghai?
Shanghai was
Good.
great. Actually, I really loved Lebanon. I was
Ah,
a couple of years ago. And I think so I've not really spent much time in the Middle East as a place I'd love to one day really, I guess, explore a little bit more. But
Mhm.
Beirut was really interesting. I was not aware that there were such a big community of, I guess, Muslims and Christians living together, and it just looked like Paris. It was gorgeous,
Mhm.
partying, and at the same time, you know what's happening around the border. So it was this crazy contrast. And also, so I was there with a male friend, and he left. So I had one full day by myself, and I did feel a little bit, I think, afraid as a female traveling there. So, but people were very friendly on the streets, very nice and very hospitable. Mm.
Yeah, it's so sad what's happened to Beirut, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your most memorable travel experience then? Was that it? Beirut, Istanbul? No, sorry, what do you say? Lebanon? Uh,
Yeah, that would probably stand out. The other place that stood out for me was Tibet. Um,
ah,
yeah,
you
so right,
managed to go to Tibet?
yeah. So right after I quit my job in Shanghai, I had some free time to travel. So two friends from Sabah and I went to Tibet for about a week. And also
Uh-huh.
it was eye-opening to see how I guess people were so just really sweet and very like I think everything was really raw still, and they were so I think devout to I think their religion also. So that was really interesting to observe.
Right. I'm sure it's also inspirational, no?
Oh yeah.
Um, okay. Ping is asking, do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? Most artists are shy and not good at expressing themselves. Do you
Yeah.
think that's a crucial aspect for an artist to get exposed? Does that mean you have to be extrovert and, be, what do you call it, networking all the time? Or should your work speak
Ooh.
for itself? you know?
Yeah, I think I'm a in between to be honest. I think I really enjoy meeting new people, going to social events. But after a while my social quota just like hits the ceiling and then I have to go back home and kind of like space out for a little bit and then I'm okay. So I'm a
Right.
yeah.
But,
Um
but do you think that's important when it comes to art?
hmm.
To be, which do you think, or it doesn't matter at all?
I think it's good to be flexible, to not
Mm,
to be open to meeting people and not keep to totally keep to yourself, and also the other way around is important as well, to be able to have enough energy and not overuse it and burn out.
right.
I think recently I've been binge watching Chef's Table. I love Chef's Table,
Ah,
and it's interesting
yes.
to see the different personalities. So you have Massimo Bottura, who's like, you can tell he's just great in front of the camera, so good. And then there's Virgilio Martinez of Peru, who's like really quiet and but so creative. So I think there's a range of different types of personalities, and it's just
Yeah.
what fits you.
I think what really speaks is what you produce, right? Whether it's an artwork or a piece of writing or food or whatever. In the end, that's what really speaks for you, right?
Mhm.
Um, so there's a question from Nico Tan. Would you do 3D art installations versus 2D like piece, which is
Mm.
closer to a sculpture of sorts? And actually, that last picture that you showed, which was like a trishaw,
Mm.
a red one, I don't understand that. What was that made of? And and that's quite different from everything else you've done.
Yeah. So this was Star Residences. They came up to me and they wanted a permanent outdoor piece. So I said yes immediately because I've not done anything like that. I really want to be able to do that. So kudos to them for having the trust in me to execute that. So I started looking around for, I guess, materials, everyday objects that I could put outdoors. And with sculpture, it would be metal or steel. So I looked into tiffins. like Nyonya
Into
Tiffin.
what? Ah, is that what it was?
Yeah, so they are tiffin carriers. So there's
Ah,
2,020 pieces of them to, I guess, mark this year. So
oh,
2,020 pieces would be about 400 kilos of tiffins behind a metal bike. So I'm
oh.
working with a friend who's helping me on the ground in China right now build this while we're kind of apart. And so yeah, I guess it's to talk about how I guess this whole season of ordering from Grab and all that used to be just people carrying around tiffins. So I guess I tried to merge these two ideas together. So
So
so yeah,
where will this piece be exhibited?
Jalan
Will
Yap.
be
I think that's
oh here in KL.
yeah. So it's gonna if you take a photo of it, you'll see KLCC in the background. So I tried to
Oh,
also
cool.
mimic the stacking of KLCC with the tiffins also as a kind of cheeky way to reflect what's going on in the background.
Is it there yet, or is it there yet? Not
It's,
yet.
it's being fabricated
Oh,
in China right now.
oh, cool. Can't wait. It'll
Yeah.
be instantly Instagrammable, I'm sure.
Yay! I'm looking forward to that. But 3D pieces
Yeah.
are more challenging. So I mean, there's the whole thing about structure and making sure it doesn't fall down and all that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are you ever influenced by the cities you're in? Like just now you're talking about how you try to line it up with the
Yeah.
and lining it up without actually seeing it, right? I mean, you have to imagine it. Are
Yeah.
you influenced by the cities you're in? Do you find some cities more inspirational?
For sure.
Which
Uh,
ones?
so I think in the last since I've been creating pieces, I started out in China. I that was how things happened for me. I found that very inspiring, just the abundance of materials. And then I started traveling, kind of hopping around the States. I was in Australia for a little bit. And I think I was inspired by the street art scene a lot there because street art came from, I guess, stenciling in Melbourne is a big thing. And then street art also in LA. But coming back to Southeast Asia, I do find more, maybe it's my heritage and my roots. I do find it very inspiring to study what locals are doing, especially in Sabah, like what the natives are doing with their crafts and art. So I think that's why bamboo weaving started to appear in what I did, and also the little eggshell pieces, and also I think seeing that in Vietnam in this region really inspired me. So it's definitely inspired by what I see around me, and I guess that's why my art changed over the last couple of years. It was a little bit more, I think it becomes a little bit different in each city that I spend time with. So I'm interested to see how KL would actually shape what I do. I've been looking into batik a lot here actually.
Ah, yes. I've just been on the East Coast and it's really like some beautiful stuff
Terengganu?
out there. Terengganu and Kota Baru.
Oh wow.
And how different actually the states are next to each other, but the color sense is different. And
Yeah.
go to the markets there. The markets there are wonderful.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe I should spend time like traveling up and down the peninsula.
Yeah. Drive, because they said that in the East Coast, the colors are influenced by nature, by the sea and everything. That's why they're very colorful.
Hmm.
So some of the questions about travel. Do you travel alone? Actually, do you have an entourage or something? And how did you decide where to travel for inspiration, or does something else, make you decide where you go?
Um, I, I'm comfortable traveling alone, but I think it's nice to travel with people. I think when it comes to work, I do travel with people. So I either travel with an assistant who's helping me on the job. My brother manages some of my projects. He comes sometimes with me.
Oh,
So I usually have someone with me, but I have
oh.
to and it's nice too. But I think when I see something amazing, I go, oh, I wish someone was here to
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah, you always want to share it with
yeah,
someone, right? It's a good thing that you can now send photos,
Yeah,
very quickly.
that is true.
Okay, here's a question that's kind of, I think, hinting at something. Jean Lee Chang said,
Mhm.
have you considered taking someone as your mentee?
Oh,
Someone wants to travel with you,
oh
obviously.
yeah. Travel, work. I will be working on a couple of projects next year, and because I'm so in Sabah, I have a group of 3 or 4 freelance artists who help me quite a bit. But being in KL, I do need to probably get people on board to help me out with a couple of projects. Paid positions, by the way. So yeah,
Aha.
so I will be looking out for people who can jump in on some projects with me to carry those out in the next few months. Or
So they should look at your Instagram or something to
yeah,
figure out when you need them. That'd
yeah.
be great. I mean, gosh, for a young person to work with you, I think that would be really incredible. So we are just past 4 o'clock. Not many questions yet left. Anyone else has last minute questions? We can still ask some. If not, we might go to doing our big group photo.
Mhm.
So can everyone switch on your video cameras so we can see you all, and let's go to gallery view. Hello. Hi,
Hi,
hi, hi, everyone. Come on.
Tracy.
Hi. Wow, look at your audience. So many people.
Hi. Thanks so much for tuning in.
I all would be artists or fans or whatever. There's still some people not on yet. A few more. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So Zin,
Yeah,
gonna take
I'm
a
gonna take
photo.
some print screens.
So yeah, so you give us the cue, Zin, when to
Yeah.
smile or whatever.
Okay, hold on, yeah.
Wait, Kuzai and Nora, are you gonna come on or what? Ah, there they are, I think. Yes. Okay, we're almost ready.
Hold
One
on.
more empty spot there. Ah, all right. Okay, everybody. Zin, tell us.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay.
All right. Do we do another one or do we do a funny one? Malaysians like to do this, what do they call it? Freestyle.
Okay, we do another one. Freestyle.
We
Hold
do
on.
some freestyle or you do
1,
something
2,
funny.
3.
Yeah.
Just one,
Okay.
just one last
Huh?
one.
One last one. Okay. The
1, 2,
Miss Perfectionist.
3. Okay, that's good. That's all.
Right. So before I end, thank you, Red, for a wonderful session. I think we learned so much about your work and really looking forward to seeing more, especially here in KL where we are, so we can actually go up and look at them instead of just looking at photos. For everyone else who's joined us, thank you so much for starting us off on such a good note with this first episode. Do look out for the other episodes coming up. We'll have another 5 or 6 for season 2 with lots more interesting people, different from different walks of life, somehow all related to travel. And go to our website zafigo.com where you'll be able to see the recording of this and other stories that might interest you. So thanks again, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and
So
see
much.
you again in about 2 weeks. Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Thanks, Marina.
Welcome. Thanks, Red.